G'day guys, I'm Ragnar. Today I'm going to show you the Venthyr Shaman and demonstrate the Venthyr ability Chain Harvest in a dungeon environment. I'll demonstrate it for all three specs, and I think Venthyr will be a solid Covenant choice for Shaman players. Venthyr Shamans get an ability called Chain Harvest. Chain Harvest sends a wave of enema at the target, which then jumps to additional nearby targets. It deals shadow damage up to 5 enemies and restores health up to 5 allies. For each target critically struck, the cooldown is reduced by 5 seconds. It has a 2.5 second cast time, which can be reduced by haste, a 1.5 minute cooldown, and a 40 yard range. It's like a buff Chain Lightning and Chain Heal merged into one spell that's coloured red. It can both damage enemies and heal allies at the same time. Now let's take a look at how Chain Harvest works for Elemental spec. Elemental Shamans have an interesting talent called Echoing Shock. It shocks the target for elemental damage and causes your next damage or healing spell to be cast a second time, 1 second later for free. This means if we cast Echoing Shock, then cast a spell, the spell will happen twice. This works for Chain Harvest. Watch as I cast Echoing Shock, then Chain Harvest, so I get 2 Chain Harvests back to back. As you can see, it does wonders for my damage and does some really nice off healing too. It's definitely a fun ability to have as an Elemental Shaman, especially since it works with Echoing Shock. It fits in quite comfortably with Elemental's usual rotation. Now let's take a look at Enhancement Shaman. Chain Harvest still has a cast time for Enhancement, however Enhancement Shaman in Shadowlands have a spell called Maelstrom Weapon. Maelstrom Weapon is a buff that accumulates from your spells and auto attacks. It reduces the cast time and increases the effectiveness of a spell by 20%. This can stack up to 5 times. This means at 5 or more stacks of Maelstrom, we can instantly cast a casted spell at 100% higher damage. This also works with Chain Harvest, making this fit into Enhancement's rotation quite nicely if you use it with 5 stacks of Maelstrom, as it makes it an instant cast and 100% more effective. Chain Harvest does a very nice amount of damage and healing for your group as Enhancement. Now let's take a look at Resto Shaman. As Resto, you're more likely to use this as a healing cooldown rather than a damage one, though it works the same way as the other specs. We have no Echoing Shock or Maelstrom to enhance Chain Harvest, however that doesn't mean it's bad. It still does a really nice AoE heal and does decent damage too if no healing is required. You do need to hard cast it as Resto, but I think it's worth the long cast time. Overall, I think Chain Harvest is the strongest Covenant spell for all 3 Shaman specs at the moment. If you found this video useful, hopefully I've earned a like and sub from you. What do you think of the Venthyr Shaman? Does it look fun? Too strong? Too weak? Let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching guys, see you next time.